Hi, welcome to Stamp Camp 2009 for twopeasinAbucket.com. This is Jennifer McGuire and I'm going to talk a bit about stamping on fabric. We're going to do a few different things and I'm just going to start out with just some basic steps first. Here's a card that I did where I just picked some fun fabrics that I had on hand. You can get little scraps just about anywhere. And I'm inking up this Hero Art stamp with some chalk ink. Now all kinds of different inks will work on fabric. You just got to test them out. Every fabric's different, just like every ink is. But I found basic fabrics like this work great with the color box chalk inks. But again, just try out different things and you can see which works best. Now I also have found that gluing fabric down is best when using glue stick. So I just put a little glue stick on and you can plop it on the card wherever you want. And then I always go back with my fingernail and scratch the edges because this gives like a frayed look, which is one of the things that we love about using fabric. If we didn't want that frayed look, we could have just used pattern paper. But the glue stick works great because you can move it around and smooth it out real easy and not have to worry about ironing your fabric when you're stamping. So here's the final results. You can see the frayed edge and I just topped it off with some buttons. It just adds to the homemade feel. Now I also thought I'd show something a little more advanced. This is embossing on fabric. It creates a resist. You can see that fern there was stamped and we inked over it. Now I just used this inexpensive canvas heavy material and I want to get it down to a square of the right size. So I put a little cut in the side at the size of this stamp, and now where that cut is I just tear. Now this works with almost all fabrics. You do a little cut and then tear, and it always tears perfectly straight and you don't have to worry about trying to cut it perfectly, and you get the nice frayed edge. It works great every time. So I'm going to take this Hero Art stamp. It's just this is a good one for fabric because you don't want to use anything that's too detailed for this, and I'm inking it up with Versamark. Any kind of pigment or embossing ink will work for this. So I'm going to stamp this on the fabric and push very firmly. Now I'm going to shake on some white embossing powder. It's important to do white here to make the effect more intense. So I'm putting on lots of white embossing powder and then I'm flicking it really pretty firmly to get off the extra embossing powder because it likes to get in the cracks of the fabric. Now I'm going to heat it up with my heat gun. It takes a little bit extra time to do this than it does with paper. Now here I'm using an inking tool to apply some distress inks. You can use all different kinds of inks for this, but I found that the distress inks work best. So I'm putting different shades of colors, and actually I'm going back on the edges with some chalk ink just so I could show you that it works well too. So you can see I've put lots of inks on here. I'm going to go back and add a little bit of broken china, which is a blue ink, onto it just for a little color to catch the eye. You can do the same technique on other fabrics, but I really like it on this canvas burlap type material. Now the more ink I put on top, the more intense that image will come out. Now I'm going back lightly with a baby wipe and just wiping off that stamped image because where it was embossed in white, it will resist the ink that we put on top. And here you can see the final result. It's really easy to do and it works great on pretty solid images. Now I'm going to do stamping on velvet. This is an old technique that I've always loved. And you can see there's an image put onto this velvet here. It's just pressed into it. So you just want to take a clean rubber stamp. Mine's almost clean, but you know, just make sure the ink is off of it. Now I'm just wrapping this fabric around it. You don't have to do this. You just want to be sure that when you are doing this technique that the fabric always stays in contact with the rubber stamp in the same place. Now I'm taking my iron and I've got it on pretty hot and I'm just pressing it on there. You don't want to move back and forth because it'll shift the fabric and you don't want that. Now you can see that the stamp is kind of hugging onto the fabric, or I should say the fabric's hugging onto the stamp. So I know I'm almost done. I'm just going to put a little bit more heat on it. Now once it's cool, I'm going to unwrap it. And you can see the impression is left into the velvet. Now something fun you can do with this is on velvet dresses for little girls. You can do this and it really gives a nice effect. So you can see the final result here. Now be sure to check out twopeasinabucket.com for more information along with a handout with tips.